You have to respond positively, not just for yourself, but for your team as well. When you show a lack of discipline, when you show a lack of self-control, you're showing your weakness. You're showing your opponent your weakness too. I want to talk about one of the 4 cardinal virtues in the context of sports. Now, what's a virtue? The Catechism of the Catholic Church defines a virtue as the habitual and firm disposition to do good. And which one of the 4 do I want to talk about today? Temperance. And temperance is our ability to control our actions based on faith and reason. So how does this play out in sports? I've grown up playing sports, and for the past 7 years I've coached high school sports. And so I can speak to this from personal experience, but even if you're just kind of the average fan and you enjoy watching, you know this too. Every time that you turn your TV on and you're watching a football game, a basketball game, baseball game, what have you, we're all aware of the really high moments and low moments of emotion that take place in a sporting event. So I want to talk about the negative emotion first. Let's say during a football game, you're a defensive back and a wide receiver runs a really great route and gets you to turn your hips, and now you're out of position and he beats you on the play. There's negative emotion there if you're the guy who got beat. Now, where does temperance come in? Well, how do you respond? Do you, when the guy scores, run over to him and push him in the back? On the next possession, the next time you're out and you're faced against him, do you trip him as he's running his route? And let's move to basketball. Let's say you're going to the basket and you go to lay it in and the ref misses a foul and you're frustrated. There's negative emotion there. How do you respond? Does your mind say next and you keep playing? Or do you get frustrated? Do you get down? Do you start complaining? Does your body language change? Those things have to deal with self-control, right? Temperance, our ability to control our actions based on faith and reason. So reasonably speaking, when you react negatively, everyone sees that. Your teammates see that. Your coaches see that. The officials see that. Your parents and the fans see that. And that matters. That means something. Because, let's say again in the basketball situation, the ref misses the call and you say something back to the ref. Reasonably, you could understand that the ref probably isn't going to change the call to begin with, and throughout the rest of the game, they're probably not going to view you favorably. Not to mention, when you show a lack of self-control, that's a weakness. Even so, this weekend, I was working with the young men's youth ministry that I do, and we were talking about temperance, and one of the guys said that, you know, he's really competitive, and he's a football player, and you know, he wants to express his dominance over his opponents. Okay, all well and good there. But he said there's this line that he crosses sometimes, and he catches himself where, you know, he'll push a guy when he's already down, like he's made a great tackle, and he'll do something while the guy's already down. And that's a lack of self-control. That's a lack of discipline. Doing that is a weakness. In fact, I coach at a Christian school, and one of the things that our head coach says often is be tough. And he usually says that in the context of something negative just happened. Now you have to respond positively. You have to respond positively not just for yourself, but for your team as well. When you show a lack of discipline, when you show a lack of self-control, you're showing your weakness. You're showing your opponent your weakness too. Because when you're on the other side of it and you see your opponent acting up, responding negatively, that just fuels you as an opponent. Hey, I got that guy. If you're the one who's on the receiving end of the negative emotion, then you have to be tough. You have to move on to the next play. The game's not going to stop for you to be frustrated, for you to pout, for you to complain. The game goes on, and so you have to as well. You have to be tough and show temperance, show self-control, show discipline. And that's the negative emotion, which is probably the more obvious one to deal with. The other side, though, is when there's high moments of positive emotion. All right, let's say your team is playing really, really well and you're just superior to the other team, to your opponent, and you're dominating them. You're up by 50, let's say. How do you control yourself then? Do you start showboating? Are there excessive celebrations? Do you start talking smack to people who are, frankly, less than you athletically? Or do you handle yourself with humility? Do you beat your opponent with respect, leaving them with their dignity intact? Self-control, temperance, the ability to control our actions based on faith and reason. How does that play out there? Like, what does faith and reason have to do there? Well, think reasonably again. If you showboat, that impacts officials, the way that they see you. And you're usually, especially in a basketball season, not only going to see the same official one time, you're going to see them again and again and again. And they remember things like that, not just about an individual, but about the team. And so you have to be disciplined. You have to show self-control. You have to really adopt and allow the cardinal virtue of temperance to be in your heart and expressed through your actions. So the key takeaway here isn't that competition is bad. No, not at all. Competition's great. You work your tail off to be a great player. Awesome. Go be a great player. You beat your opponent. Nothing wrong with that. Go beat your opponent. But there's a way to do it that's Christ-like. Think about all the times we see in the Bible where Christ is addressed by the religious elite, and they question him and they argue with him and they try to trap him. And think about how often he responds by sidestepping their argument and proving his own point. That's how you can play sports. Don't allow what's being thrown at you to impact you negatively. Sidestep it, keep moving forward because the game goes on, and get past it. Be tough. Show toughness. Show temperance.